You look fine from the outside. You show up, you hold it all together, you handle things that need to get handled. But on the inside, there's this low hum that never really goes away. It's like you're always waiting for something to go wrong. Like no matter how much you accomplish, it still doesn't feel like enough. Like one wrong move and the whole thing just falls to shit. And here's the part nobody talks about. You felt this way for so long, you've just assumed this is who you are. It's not. Here's what this actually looks like. You are the one who keeps the peace. You avoid the conflict because the conflict never ended well when you were growing up. In fact, you people please without even realize you're doing it. And you're probably the most reliable person in every room you walk into. And still, it somehow doesn't feel like it's enough. You're on edge, waiting for that next shoe to drop, for someone to get upset, for the thing that hasn't even happened yet, but it feels like the storm is coming. If any of that sounds familiar, here's what I want you to understand. You learned to operate this way for a reason. When you were a kid growing up in chaos, whether that was addiction in your home, unpredictability, divorce, abuse, walking on eggshells, waiting for that next shoe to drop, you developed a set of tools to survive it all. And those tools worked. Then they kept you safe. Then the problem is, though, you're still using them right now as an adult in situations that stopped requiring survival mode a long time ago. You're solving adult problems with childlike resources. And that's not a character flaw. It's not even a weakness. That's what happens when nobody hands you an updated set of tools. And yeah, most people in that situation, they've tried the regular stuff that's supposed to work, that's supposed to help. They read the books like Codependent No More, which is a good book, by the way. They told themselves to think positive. They tried to just push through it. And yeah, maybe they did some therapy and maybe it helped a little bit. But these patterns, they just keep showing up. That happens because willpower and positive thinking, they don't actually reach the place where this lives. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm going to show you exactly how I dismantle it. And you can apply it to you so you can dismantle it too. In case you're new to me, I'm Dan Candell, and I'm known worldwide as the Anxiety Relief Guy. And the first thing I do when I help someone who's carrying all this stuff around like the weight of the world on their shoulders, and I mean the very first thing before anything else. We're not at fixing it yet. We're not at reframing it yet. We're just looking at it like an explorer. Most people in this situation are so deep into the pattern that they can't see it clearly and they can't even identify it. They're in the middle of the storm. So the first move is to get them above it. I do that through a process called subconscious insight and discovery questions. Once someone can see the pattern clearly, here's where we go next. Now, I don't ask people to imagine their whole life differently. That's too big, and the brain doesn't know what to do with that. And honestly, it feels way more overwhelming than helpful. Instead, I ask them to do something much smaller. This is what we call chunking it down. I have them just think about being in this state of calm and peace and self control just for an hour. And what could happen in that 1 hour? What would that 1 hour feel like if you weren't running on that constant feeling of dread? What would it be like to walk into a room and not automatically scan for what can go wrong? What would it be like to have a conversation without bracing for a disagreement? Just 1 hour. I asked them to get crystal clear on what they would be thinking, what would they be feeling, and what would they be doing. So that way we can create a concrete plan and start cementing it and burning it into the subconscious mind. Then we do what we call future pace it. We pace it out to now imagine your life like this for a full week. A week in your life without that unnecessary anxiety. A week in your life where you feel more at peace and more in control. And then we go for an entire month. What I'm doing here is practical. I'm getting the brain to start building a real picture of what this new reality can actually look like, feel like, and sound like. And it's in small enough pieces so it actually feels achievable. Not like a fantasy, but something that's actually within reach. And here's what happens when you do this. The brain has a system called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. You already know how this works, even if you've never heard the term before. It's why when you buy a red car, you start seeing the same red car everywhere as if everybody else bought the same red car at the same time you did. But those red cars, they were already there. Your brain just started filtering for them because you gave it a target. Now, when you give the brain a clear picture of a new way of operating, filtering for evidence that this is possible, it starts noticing moments in your day that match the new identity instead of the old one. So instead of the brain automatically collecting evidence that you're anxious, reactive, or stuck, it starts collecting evidence that you're calm, capable, and in control. Now, here's what's important. You're not forcing yourself to change here. You're just changing what the brain is looking for. And that's just the beginning. So let's take a break for a moment so I can tell you about a golfer I worked with. And this is going to relate, I promise. He was genuinely good, but every time he played in front of his dad or his friends or in a tournament, something would happen. That doubt would creep in, the performance anxiety would take over, and that swing that felt completely natural in practice, it would fall apart and crumble under the pressure. And in one session, I used this same form of insight, chunking it down, and mental rehearsal. I had him vividly imagine playing in those exact scenarios that used to cause him anxiety. His dad watching, the tournament pressure, his friends. But this time, I had him imagine it with full confidence. Calm, decisive, and trusting himself completely. He took 4 strokes off his game after that one session. And more than the score, he felt more calm and confident on the course than he ever did before. Here's why this matters to you. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between something that's vividly imagined or that's actually happening. When you rehearse a new response with enough clarity and detail, the brain treats it like a real experience. It starts to generalize. It takes that new pattern and it brings it to other situations, because that's how the brain conserves energy. Like equals like. Now, I want to be clear here. This isn't just motivation. This isn't visualize and believe and think positive. This is how the brain actually operates. And when you use it deliberately, that change you want to make, it stops feeling like a daily fight, and it starts feeling like the most natural thing in the world. If you have been operating this way for most of your life, just remember the pattern isn't you. It's something that got dropped into place a long time ago by a younger version of you who is doing the best they could to survive. And there's a way out of it that doesn't require you to fight yourself every single day. The link in the description will take you to some resources that can really help you get out of your head and into your life. So that way, life gets easier, more enjoyable, and more fun. That's the next step, so go check it out. And as always, be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing.